For seam guidelines, this is when we're really going to start practicing sewing for how we're going to do it on our first project. So I'm going to make sure to have my machine set back to number 1. Changing all settings back to standard means on number 1. I'm going to find the stitching guidelines on the throat plate and find the 15 line. So when you look here, it says 15 up here, 5/8 down here. 5/8 of an inch is a standard seam allowance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up the edge of my fabric with the 5/8 inch line, and then I'm going to sew all the way around the fabric, just a straight stitch, making sure to backstitch at the beginning and the end, because I will always backstitch from now on whenever I'm doing a straight stitch. And I'm going to keep the edge of my fabric lined up on that 5/8 or that 15. When I get to my corner, I'm going to have my needle down. When I turn to pivot, continuing sewing. If you overshoot it, which I know I just did right there, I'm going to just use my back stitch to go back 1 or 2 stitches to make sure that I'm back at that 5/8 inch. Continuing to go. Not close enough. And then when I get to the very end, I'm going to just sew all the way to the edge of my fabric. Back stitch 3 to 5 stitches. Forward stitch again to the end of my fabric, and then cut off. Then the next part of this is using a 1/4 inch seam. So the 1/4 inch is actually going to be the edge of my presser foot. So I'm going to line the last row of stitching I just did with the edge of my presser foot. So I'm going to put my needle down, presser foot down. I'm going to follow the last line of stitching I did all the way around with that edge of the presser foot. 3 to 5 stitches, back stitch, forward stitch, and then again I'm just using that last row of stitching, lining up, not quite far enough, keeping that lined up with the edge of my presser foot. And then going off the end, and then the sample instructions ask you to then just do this one more time. So then I'm literally just going to cut that off. I'm going to use that last row of stitching I just did, line that up with the edge of the presser foot, and then go back around again. When you get to your corners, using that hand wheel is a good idea, just to make sure that you're getting in the exact right spot that you want it to be. And again, if you overshoot it, you can always just use the back stitch button to back up a little bit. And then, as always, when I'm doing a straight stitch, just sew to the edge of my fabric, back stitch 3 to 5 stitches, and then sew again to the end. And then that is your seam guidelines, what they should look like.